on a positive note by, thanking the government for obviously not interfering with the figures of the Bureau of Statistics, because actually it indicts the government. But that kind of independent. Well, I'm just hoping that the figures are not worse than this. But
It's always on a conservative side.
yes, of course it would be. Whoever heads that bureau, of course, would know how far he or she can go at a time like this. But the bottom line is that it doesn't look good. This is not even an analysis thing. It's just for you to understand that it doesn't look good on whichever side of the divide you are. So let's take away politics from what we're about to talk about. And it says that cost of food items, others, have pushed inflation to an 18-year high rise of 26.72%. That is, in the past 18 years, we haven't had it this bad. The presidency and the APC kept sealed lips on the attacks, with the National Bureau of Statistics fingering increases in prices of oil and fat, bread and cereals, that one I know, potatoes, yam and other tubers, fish, fruit, meat, vegetables, milk, cheese, and eggs as the cause of the inflation spike. I don't know why transportation is not there, but we'll see how it goes. Contacted, the presidency declined comments and referred Vanguard to Minister Wale Edun, who is supposed to be in Morocco for the World Bank IMF summit. Released on the day World marked World Food Day, the Labour Party described the soaring prices of food and other items as verdict on President Bola Tinubu's reign, just as his presidential candidate in the last election lamented that a vast majority of Nigerians now spend their entire income on food, meaning the salary most people get, especially at the lower rung, almost everything goes on food. APC is not saying anything. The National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka, he declined comment and says he doesn't have any information for now. Well, we'll go to the MBS report that the MBS report for September released yesterday. The MBS said the headline inflation rose year on year by 26.7%. If you are interested, you can go look out for the figures. I don't want to take too much of your time. The PDP says that Tinubu and APC are unprepared for governance. In the trust, Daily Trust, which has a leaning towards the north because it's printed in the north, it says here, for example, prices drop in Taraba, but no money to buy food. Now, look at that. However, prices of foods have dropped in Taraba State as residents complain of lack of money to buy them. So it's possible that the prices are low now. After that stock, it's going to be difficult to convince some people to go back to the farm. A 100-kilogram bag of maize was sold for between 18 to 22,000, as against 55,000 sold 2 months ago, and so on and so forth. Why is access? The AFAN, the national president of All Farmers Association of Nigeria, expressed fear that some of the challenges facing the farmers, especially those in the poultry sector, would make the celebration of the World Food Day difficult in the near future. The federal government have said that we are intensifying all-year food production. So what else do I have here? Okay, Peter B says here also in the Vanguard, Nigerians now spend income on food. No respite for consumer prices. Analysts say no respite. The prices are they might just keep going up. Okay, so that's the not too pleasant news that we have for you this morning across the board. But I don't think it's news to you. I think everybody knows that the prices of almost everything under the sun has gone up.
What worries me the most is how the poor keeps getting poorer, the rich keeps getting richer. It used to be that way, but at this point, the poor is getting poorer, the rich is getting poorer as well, because the more the naira loses value, the poorer and I'm not talking about politicians rich now, because politicians will always look for a purse to take money out of. I'm talking about people who have earned legitimately their money. You can classify them to be that in that space of a rich or middle class, if we want to say, okay, we have middle class. So these people's assets have consistently dropped from what it used to be to what it is now, and they are even as worried as the poor man on the streets. Of course, they can find something to eat, they can feed their family. The question is, they are not used to being in that position of insecurity about everything, especially their assets.
What I think is even more worrying is that the incomes of the so-called privileged class, believe you me, in most cases is tied to government.
Yeah.
You don't find the elite class being, in percentages, being that productive. Apart from those who are professionals, you find that most people depend on government patronage, directly or indirectly. Okay, I mean, so the governor, the Senate wants to buy SUVs. I'm sure they won't go to where we know Toyota is being sold. Somebody will be given the contract, and somebody will sign. You know, all kinds of things that you know, and that in itself is diminishing, because those of some of them that we know, like in the military, days of the military, it used to be a one-stop shop. These days, you don't want to imagine how many times you have to drop before you can get anything. But I think what is most worrying is the one that would lead to the next story, and that is the insensitivity of our leaders. They just don't want to lead by example. They just don't want to. It's like you're head of a family, your children can't eat, and you go buy yourself a limousine. It is in that light that I see, for example, members of the assembly buying SUVs. SUVs for what? You're not farmers, you're not engineers, you're not just, you know, if we don't look at these things, critically and get our people to set the right example, we are heading towards chaos. And this is why I tell you, for example, that I don't believe in any NLC. Because if I were head of the NLC by now, I'd be calling a strike to say that no, until you do otherwise, you know, we're not going to work. We can't be, all of us can't be suffering as workers and this and that, and then some privileged persons in government will be buying SUVs. It doesn't add up. You're not engineers, you're not going to sites, you understand what I'm saying? What the National Assembly should be doing is buying mini buses. So if a committee is going on what they call oversight inspection, which is a lie that they usually tell us, you're a committee of 10, do you want to put 10 SUVs on the road? No. There's an air-conditioned bus that you can you can even buy these air-conditioned buses for the committees. Okay, so this is one for your oversight functions. We don't do that. You know, we don't do that. And people see these things, they call in on radio every day, and, you know, like at 9 o'clock, for example, I'm going to take on the plight of the man who said he got one, one bag of rice as in Ogun State. And you need to see the arrogance in the reply of Ogun State government.
Oh, they replied.
They replied. They issued a statement. You wait for 9 o'clock. How can a state government take on a citizen? Did you contact him? No. Do you understand what I'm saying? Did you contact him to ask him, how did you get this? How did that happen? No. You went on like an 10, 12 paragraph. And guess what? They probably thought the man is a nobody. At 9 o'clock, I'll reveal the name of that person. For those of us, a lot of people in my age, he's older than I am. He's a senior citizen. And you go on and denigrate him and insult him. You know? But at 9 o'clock, we'll get back to that. I don't like the direction in which this country is going, generally. You know? But there are one or two stories here that I will use again as a means of commenting.
You know, incidentally, that's our next story, actually. Palliatives, Nigerians condemn poor ration land-based governors.
Yes. I mean, look at the story here says that there is anger across the states over the quantity of palliative foodstuff shared among beneficiaries by the state governments. While some complained about being given inadequate rice, gari, beans, and money, others said they did not get any palliatives at all. Residents who spoke to our correspondents criticized governors, saying the quantity of foodstuffs could not provide any relief for the fuel subsidy removal. In Zamfara State, for example, residents said they were only able to get some cups of maize. What an insult. As palliatives from the state government. According to them, they got 2 measures, agolomeji, equivalent to 12 cups of assorted grains. A resident, Ismail Hassani, said he did not get rice but was given 2 measures of maize. Why do these people insult us like this? I always feel like crying. Why do we do this kind of thing to our own people? 2 cups of maize. You know, he said, another resident said, I collected 2 modules of maize as palliatives from my polling unit. That should tell you something. Another resident of Damba quarters in Goso said that she got 2 measures, 12 cups of maize. I was called by an officer in charge of the polling unit where I cast my vote during the last election, who gave me the grain. And so on and so forth. And again, you look at some so-called party supporters, the kind of reasons that they give, the kind of explanation they give, is for the poor of the poor. Who is not the poor of the poor in what we are talking about now? Let's be honest with ourselves. And how do you determine if a man is poor or rich? There are so many people with limousines in their garages, they can't fuel it. Some their cars are broken down, they can't buy parts to fix it. So you can't feel what people are feeling unless you get very, very close to them. So these kind of assumptions don't hold water. I will deal with the issue of that, the one at 9 o'clock. And we have to resist these things. You take us through a lot of suffering and pain, and then you almost want to make us a public enemy because we stand up to some of the things that you are doing. It will not be accepted. It should not be accepted. It should not. That's what democracy is about. If you're doing things that we don't like, then we will not do it violently, but we'll do it within the confines of the law.
Let's go to the news pages of the Punch and the Daily Trust.
Oh dear. Flood sacks for Rivers community. Government opens IDP camp. Yes, Third Mainland Bridge is now a death trap. Yes, I don't think I want to go on that bridge for a while. You're just driving zigzag, potholes everywhere. Zigzag. Look at the photograph there. Last man finds wandering girl under the bridge. Okay. So if you're looking there's a girl that has been found. Her name is said to be Kemisola Christie, and she was found wandering in Jibo under the bridge. So if you know who she is. Sheriff, look at the story of Nigeria. Pedestrians panic as vandals remove Lagos footbridge railings. So people are... So sometimes we tend to blame government, but our people too they are also complicit. They did it for the Eco Bridge. The railings have been replaced almost about 5 times now. What I hear is that it's used for the big spoon for jollof rice, adogon, and all these things. All the bowls, whatever they use for frying puff and these small chops that you eat at parties. And all those things that you eat is
Why me? Why you insisting I eat puff?
Because I know you like puff. Ogu Bank official flees with 1.97 million. And
Million?
Yes. That's all. Just 1.97 million. What do you know? Added motorcyclist killed inspector in Delta. Let me see what is going on here. Good news in Lagos. Blue Rail resumes 74 daily trips in November. That's good. Lagos vows to clear pension backlog. Why would you have a pension backlog? That's a story for another day.
Let's trust that.
Let's trust. Let me just take trust. Where is the trust? Okay, there it is. Okay, trust says Lagos issues 7-day quit notice to truck bus drivers on the bridge. Commissioner, the Okada drivers are back. Okada riders are back on the bridge, on the opposite side of traffic. Even here, Okada riders returning to restricted Lagos routes, government alerted. There's this group called Veteran Activists in Lagos State. Have you heard of them?
No.
Veteran activists in Lagos State. Land grabbers stripping victims arrested in Lagos. One is this land Omonile. He strips his victims naked, so you can't run after.
The story of man I saw of what one land grabber did to him.
Yes.
Yeah, almost assassinated him.
Yes.
So he was crying out for help. So apparently these land grabbers are quite well connected.
Yes. Now, didn't you hear the story of Ejigbadero? You don't know who Ejigbadero?
You told me about it.
Ejigbadero, he was hung.
You told me about it.
Very, very influential, extremely influential. Knew everybody under the sun. But when the murder thing surfaced, everybody turned their backs on him. My late uncle was his lawyer then. I remember when he came back from court after the man lost the appeal. I'll tell you later what he said. Man whose offense kills 2 siblings remanded. Tinubu appoints secretary for FCT. By the way, there was FEC meeting yesterday. So I think
yes, Monday.
The president is back, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's good. Because I've been out of circulation for a while. But that's all. There's not much.
I'd like to get your thought though on this move by the Lagos State government demolishing buildings on waterways. What's your thought about that? I've seen all kinds of interpretations from people out there.
Well, for as long as this thing is going on under the ambits of the law, I don't see anything wrong with it. People just need to learn to be process driven. If you're going to invest in putting up a building, okay, if you're going to invest in that, then you have to be thorough. And we have this lax attitude, that I know the governor, I know this. Then when the time comes when you don't know anybody, the law catches up with you. I don't blame the only thing I blame the Lagos State government for is that they've been pussyfooting on these things. Yes, don't wait until the buildings are up and ready before you now go in to demolish. But aside from that, because in 9 cases out of 10, these so-called fine buildings that you see cause a disturbance somewhere else. You don't want to know. There was a story that was buried many years ago when Victoria Island, the Bar Beach, was extended to have what's that place called now?
Which one?
On the Bar Beach, that new estate. The thought of mentioning I can never go there when I know under this was water. This is Sanfield area.
Okay, Atlantic. Okay.
Why the government was taking all glory for building Atlantic?
Yeah.
It's a good investment. Oh, the whole world was there, whatever. So many villages were around. You must go somewhere. So a lot of these buildings that I watched the video and the people were lamenting. I sympathize with those who apparently it was an estate and they didn't do due diligence. You must do due diligence. We must learn to do that. If you want to buy a house, get your lawyer to do a proper. You're going to spend 100 million on a house, for God's sake.
Maybe more in some cases.
In some cases. Don't just write a check. Because you see, if you want to blame the government, you now want to talk about flooding. Do you know the story of Parkview? Ikoyi, when we were young, that Parkview was the recess for all the water in Ikoyi. Ikoyi was never flooded as a child. And that place was kept as a park. Then there was some part that the water would go through. There were crocodiles, there were crabs, there were all kinds of things there. But there was a safe part. In fact, I remember Diabumi in 1968 took me to one picnic there. Whilst they were dancing this in Metro, I took it off the park. So I have good memories of Ikoyi Park. Now what happened, some politicians, I think it was during Jaconde's period, because they're all complicit in these things. That's why I tell people, so I don't support, most politicians, I don't support them. because they think of themselves. They now turn that Ikoyi Park now into Parkview. I don't know about now, but as at about 5 years ago or 4 years ago, sometimes you'd have the water of that place covering even the vehicles in the estate. Because it's a recess. The people that planned it as a recess. That all the water, because that place opens up to the ocean. But in our own Nigeria, whatever. So tomorrow, if you have a government that is now going to say, no, like Buhari did in 84, when he was demolishing 3-story buildings and people were crying, how could you, with any sense at all, build a hotel or anything at all under high tension cable? Have you been under a high tension cable before? Of course you can't, because you can't even go under it. The sizzling from afar will tell you that, don't cross that path. You build 3-4-story building. So our people have to learn to be disciplined. And what the government should actually do now, look at all the places we keep telling them. The Ijora place, I'm sure Engineer Wahab has told me that they will get there at some point. But it has become a village. We started from the time they were just selling rams and goats in that place. Now, if they go after those guys now, it will get to the world press that, world press that, the government is inconveniencing its people. So I believe that anybody who feels whatever is free to go to court. I don't know what kind of papers you'll be showing at that point. Of course, some will tell you they have papers, but in 9 cases out of 10, between the guy who organized the papers and the owner of it's government this thing, but we can get a side approval for you. You give the guy 200,000, he gives you a paper, then you hold it. Your whole neighborhood is flooded because you are sitting comfortably in your house. So that's I like I said before. Anybody accuses me of being insensitive, I sympathize with it. But I believe that anybody who is, if you're going to go into these projects, learn from now. Get a professional to tidy up all your papers. Once there is a comma there, take to your heels, or like they say in the Bible, flee.
Apart, just get a professional to handle these things.
Yes. It was sad. I saw one whole row of houses, and you should be very careful. All these estate whatever who markets these things to you. There was a case of one who had used his estate as collateral in a bank, and he sold the houses. About 4 or 5 years ago, he had used the land as collateral in a bank, and sold the houses, and I think he cashed out, and I think the bank now and had to go to negotiate. You need to be very careful, please. We have a very lax attitude in driving, in the things we do.
There's also a situation where people build houses and they don't observe the setbacks. They lay down
that
setbacks.
Is very common.
Very, very common.
Very common. And again, the government needs to be firm from the onset. They need to take out time to be firm from the onset. There is no community that is disciplined if you don't enforce the law.
Right.
I can tell you that for free. There is none. Don't think that is an Oyibo thing. No. What happens is that with the Oyibos, you cannot get away with it. Take years or whatever. They're still looking for who sponsored that Kennedy killing till today. And Kennedy was killed when I was like from Lagos. No, I think I was in primary school. So that's it.
Let's move on to the Punch newspaper. Akpabio, behind my removal from Senate, Abo alleges.
Why are you giving me these crybabies? Whatever. Our people should learn to be dignified. You're a senator. When SUVs were allocated to you, you didn't stand up for the people. Because you now lost at the court, you say Akpabio. What is wrong if Akpabio was behind his removal? What's wrong with it? It's politics. I mean, let's move on to something better, Jerry. It's politics. Somebody has to be behind something. Oh, what did you think? Do you understand? Look at me now, and I drive through a one-way road, and they now take me to court with photographs and everything, and I say, oh, it is Sanwo-Olu because I criticize him. Why did you take one-way road? I mean, we have too many crybabies, and I don't know for how long. I don't know for how long all rulings of various courts will always be contested. I haven't seen anybody who's gone to court and has been a dignified gentleman to say the court has spoken and so be it. I haven't seen that kind of gentleman in Nigeria that will say, oh, the courts have spoken and so be it. He called the press conference. I don't know why a journalist also answered to these things.
In his house.
In his house, in all
his living room.
In his living room. And our colleague sat down there. You've lost. And as far as I'm concerned, when we want to talk politics like adults, all things happen. I saw it was just this morning in the bathroom. I came across the video and I had a very good laugh. This crybaby should go find something to do. You've not spoken about things that concern the masses. It's your own. We want us to spend some time reviewing your own election, whatever. I beg. Would you have gotten the car?
Yes, of course. That's if they've bought it. I'm not sure.
It would be nice for our colleagues, especially those who went to his house, to come back and check and let us make sure.
Yeah.
And then what has happened to all the salaries that he has been paid?
Yeah, what will happen to those? Oh, wow, okay.
Because, look, Sheriff, in these things there must be a winner and a loser. If Akpabio, I don't see anything wrong in Akpabio, it's politics. If it's one man less to worry about.
Okay. Well, that didn't also speak well of our judiciary. If someone can influence another person's election, because if we're talking about what is wrong with it at that level, then we should also consider at the highest level, which is the presidential election, especially the tribunal, Supreme Court now. So we shouldn't cry that somebody instigated anything.
The children are in school. Let us tell ourselves the truth.
Yeah.
Let us tell ourselves the truth. If you grill this man, like Yorubas would say, Toba Tenno, he would have influenced one or two things himself. It's the country we are living in, I beg. Let me go and drink coffee.
Let's be going. Lagos, thank you for joining us. Kofi Bartels is back for the continuation of the Morning Crossfire. And JD will be back at 9 for Daily Digest. Yes. Stay here, please.
99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates